was Baker Mayfield, the offense that did just enough. He had a touchdown run and a touchdown throw. And the short-handed Buccaneer pirate ship upending the Detroit football team 20-16. You had a clock management snafu by Dan Campbell and the Motor City Kitties in that game. And the Vikings sailed to the promised land, a 23-16 stunner in the Twin Cities. Down go the Niners. Down go the Niners. And Minnesota off to the 2-0 start in the post-Kirk Cousins era, as they have won both their games, the win against the Giants and now the win against the 49ers. So let us discuss. Toss-up question. More surprising loss, the Lions at home or the 49ers on the road? More surprising loss. So I've got haberdashery, Punch Bowl, and Robert Palmer. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a vanishing act, which both these teams did. They did a vanishing act in different ways. Now, to kick off, the losses are puzzling. They are. But we're going to give a wink and a nod to the 49ers side by side, by a whisker, that the Niners losing to Minnesota, even though that was a road game and the Lions were at home, that's more of an egregious act. And the reason, here's why. 2 words. Sam Darnold. That's it. Period. Stop. Sam Darnold. The man who's most famous for seeing ghosts. The Niners, without Christian McCaffrey, still got 100 yards on the ground by Jordan the Freemason. So they got their 100 yards on the ground. Brock Purdy, his final numbers were okay. They were okay. However, the 49ers offense only scored 17 points, which is not okay. Not good enough. You mix in the fact that the 49er defense got burned, allowed a 97-yard catch and run. Justin Jefferson, as he ran down the field for the touchdown. And so with that in the equation, the Niners can go down to the haberdashery and get fitted for the dunce cap. What are you doing? Sam Darnold, 97-yard touchdown pass play. Now, while the Lions lost to the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneer pirate ship there, the Bucs were technically a playoff team. Granted, it was the division. And Tampa did not have their entire ensemble cast. They, as we mentioned, had a patchwork lineup. But still, I give the edge to the 49ers because the way the Niners came out and absolutely poleaxed the Jets in week 1, you're like, okay, this team's going to get out to like a 7, 8, 9-0 type start before they trip up. And to get punked by Sam Darnold, I mean, that is next level suckage is what that is. Now, page 2. It has only been a minute in terms of context, the big season, NFL season. Nevertheless, which NFL coaches are in the most hot water after 2 weeks? Which NFL coaches are in the most hot water after 2 weeks? So I've got the terrible twosome leading the way. I do not have Dave Canales on that big board. Dave Canales is in a class by himself because he's in Carolina. He's got no quarterback. He's got no chance. He's got a hedge fund owner. But I'm not going to even include Dave Canales, the coach of the Panthers. I've got Brian Daboll, the coach of the Giants, and Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. Both these teams sitting not so pretty at 0-2 on the season. And going into the year, Brian Daboll was already on the hot seat in New York/New Jersey. So things get cranked up a little bit more here. And neither of these guys is projected to be a playoff team. Jacksonville with Doug Peterson now not projected to be a playoff team. And then you've got the aforementioned Brian Daboll as well, not likely a playoff team. But you look at this. Now, Sam Darnold, that's a tough one. The week 1 for the Giants, they lost to Sam Darnold. And then week 2, Jaden Daniels got the best of the Giants, and it was nothing but field goals. 7 scoring drives, all field goals for the Washington football team. And in Jacksonville, you had Shad Khan, the con man who owns that football team, talking about how this was a real contender, that this Jacksonville team now is a real contender. They have their forever quarterback, their forever talent, generational quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who's been generationally mid. Even Trevor Lawrence, after the game, Trevor Lawrence said, "We suck right now." That was a quote from Trevor Lawrence. He said, "We suck right now," which is true. They do suck. However, that does not help the standing of Doug Peterson. It does not, right? And we'll see whether or not there's a quick hook here in the NFL, whether they let this go on and fester and whatnot. But the situation, it really just depends on whether or not someone spikes the Aristocrats punch bowl, all right? Because you got Giants owner John Mara, who plays pretty close to the vest. That's old family money. That's like the third generation of the Mara family to own and run the Giants. So they've been around for a long time. Conservative, methodical approach. Now, Khan in Jacksonville, he's the wild card here. Now, he's the wild card because Trevor Lawrence is playing like he's got cooties at this particular point, and Doug Peterson was supposed to have this all figured out. He was the calming, fatherly voice, the fatherly Flanagan coach after they got rid of Urban Meyer. But the results aren't there. The results are not there, and it's a bad, rotten situation. Now, speaking of rotten, we turn the page. We pivot now to South Florida. We go from Jacksonville down to Miami. The Dolphins did not lose on Sunday. They did not win. They did not play on Sunday, Sam. I am still reeling from a blowout loss at the hands of the Buffalo Bills back on Thursday, and yet they continue to be feeding the content machine here in Sports Talk Radio. So if you were not paying attention over the weekend, you might have missed it. What is the updated status of Tuatagovailoa? All right, so the updated status is status quo. All right, status quo. We have learned that Tuatagovailoa cannot say that he's going to retire. Cannot do it. Now, he is going to meet with a bunch of brain doctors and try to figure out what's going on. Now, this comes amid chatter that it is in the best interest of Tuatagovailoa, and really the only play he has here is to not announce that he's going to retire. He has to say that he has no plans to step away. Now, why is that? Because of the verbiage in the contract. If he says he's retiring without a doctor telling him to retire, then he forfeits like $100 million of money, as I understand, right? He had his third concussion. We know the story there. But he can't say, hey, I'm going to retire. He has to have a neurologist say, hey, you should retire. Then he gets his money. So he has to play the game here. And so it's that classic song from Robert Palmer, Doctor, Doctor, give me the news, because I got a bad case of a headache is what I've got right now. And so it's the neurologist that will decide whether or not Tuatagovailoa plays or doesn't play again. And the Dolphins are up Poop Creek without a paddle because they've got somebody named Skylar Thompson, who sounds like a WNBA player, who is the quarterback there for the Dolphins at this particular point. Now, they are also thrift shopping, looking for a viable replacement. And the way the Rams have started the year, I say, hey, why not? Matthew Stafford. You want Matthew Stafford? You can have him. He's near the end of his career anyway. He'll go to Miami for a year, enjoy the weather. Why not? Knock it out of the park. Make a call. Yeah, Rams will take a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford. You can have him there. Knock yourself out. And they can play Jimmy Garoppolo. Or if you want Garoppolo, you can trade for him too. He's also on the Rams. And now he's eligible to come back to the roster because the 2-game steroid suspension is over.